It is a grey London morning, and the pavement of Fleet Street trembles under the weight of a boring machine deep below. Above, the traffic churns as it has for a century. Below, in the dark, engineers move through a corridor of clay and brick and bone. They are digging a railway, but they are also digging through time. The project is Crossrail, later christened the Elizabeth Line, one of the largest infrastructure schemes ever attempted in Europe. Between 2009 and its opening in 2022, tunnellers carved 42 kilometres of new track beneath the capital. But every metre of London earth is history compressed. Along the route, archaeologists worked shoulder to shoulder with engineers, cataloguing more than 10,000 years of human presence. Nowhere was the layering thicker than beneath the old ink-stained heart of the city. Fleet Street, named for the buried river Fleet, has been a thoroughfare since Roman times. It has carried monks, printers, journalists and mourners. When the diggers arrived, they found that the street was less a road than a palimpsest. The first surprise came in the form of cobbles. Not one layer but many, stacked like the pages of a book. Some were rounded river stones set in packed clay. Others were squared granite sets from the 19th century, still bearing the grooves of iron-shod wheels. Archaeologists from the Museum of London Archaeology, known as MOLA, led the recording. They worked in shifts, often at night as the tunnels rumbled around them. Every stone was numbered, photographed and drawn. The cobbles told a story of a road remade again and again, each generation resurfacing the surface their grandparents had laid. Below the cobbles came the mud, and in the mud came the bones. Fleet Street sits above a warren of former burial grounds, plague pits and monastic cemeteries. The tunnellers were prepared, but the sheer density of remains still astonished them. At nearby Charterhouse Square, in 2013, Crossrail workers uncovered 25 skeletons laid in neat rows beneath the earth. Radiocarbon dating and documentary research pointed to the Black Death of 1348. DNA extracted from the teeth confirmed the presence of Yersinia pestis, the plague bacterium. The dead of London had waited 665 years to be heard. The Fleet Street corridor yielded its own darker gifts. Near the Bedlam burial ground at Liverpool Street, further along the route, more than 3,000 skeletons were exhumed between 2015 and 2016. Their bones spoke of hard lives, of rickets, of syphilis, of iron deficiency. They were the labourers and lodgers of a city that rarely wrote down their names. Yet Fleet Street's contribution was more intimate. In the trenches beneath the modern road, workers uncovered fragments of the medieval Whitefriars Monastery. Founded in 1247, the Carmelite house had once stretched from the street down to the Thames. Its cloisters were long buried beneath printing houses and pubs. The diggers found tile floors still bearing the geometry of 13th century faith. They found window glass, green and warped, that had once filtered sunlight onto praying monks. A single carved corbel emerged from the clay, its face worn smooth. No one knows whose likeness it wore. Deeper still lay the Roman city. Londinium, founded around 47 AD, left its footprint across the whole route. Near Fleet Street, archaeologists recovered fragments of amphorae that had once carried olive oil from Baetica in southern Spain. They found a bronze coin of the Emperor Hadrian, minted in the 2nd century, worn smooth by 2,000 years of pockets and puddles. Even older layers waited beneath the Romans. At Royal Oak, further west, Crossrail engineers unearthed 68,000-year-old bison bones. At North Woolwich, workers found flint tools from around 8000 BC. The tunnels became a vertical museum, sliced open by circular boring heads. Fleet Street itself had once been the printing capital of the world. From the 16th century onwards, Wynkyn de Worde and his successors set up their presses along its length. By the 20th century, every major British newspaper had offices here. The diggers found the residue of that trade too. In one trench, archaeologists lifted clay pipes stamped with the marks of 18th century makers. In another, they found lead type, tiny letters spilled from a compositor's tray. There were ink bottles, printer's blocks, and the shattered stems of wine glasses. The journalists had drunk hard, and their debris had settled into the clay. Perhaps the most poignant find was a horseshoe, wedged between two cobbles. Farriers had shod thousands of animals along Fleet Street over the centuries. Delivery horses, hansom cabs, and brewery drays had all clattered past the pubs and the presses. The single shoe, worn thin, spoke of one animal's long working life. Overseeing much of this work was J. Carver, Crossrail's lead archaeologist. He described the project as the largest archaeological program ever undertaken in Britain. More than 100 specialists worked across 40 sites. Their findings filled warehouses and rewrote textbooks. The bones from Charterhouse and Bedlam went to the Museum of London for study. The pottery, the pipes, the tiles, and the tools joined a database that will occupy researchers for decades. Some objects went on public display in 2017 in an exhibition called Tunnel, the Archaeology of Crossrail. Londoners queued to see the underworld their commute had unearthed. The Elizabeth line opened to passengers on the 24th of May 2022. Trains now glide beneath Fleet Street at speeds the horse-drawn presses could never have imagined. Above them, the newspaper offices are mostly gone, replaced by banks and coffee chains. Below, the cobbles are sealed again in silence, but the record remains. Every skeleton catalogued, every pipe stem drawn, every cobble numbered has entered the memory of the city. Fleet Street is no longer just a place. It is a stratigraphy, a chronicle of Londoners layered on Londoners. And somewhere in the dark beneath the pavement, the digger's work still whispers. The plague victim, the Carmelite monk, the Roman merchant, the ink-stained apprentice, all shoulder to shoulder in the clay. A railway was built to carry the living. In building it, London remembered its dead.